Islamism. Happy holy day to all. It's Friday. On top of that, what's not to love? So, let me just hop right into it. Islam, I give all perfect praise to the great God Allah, honors to the forerunner, Marcus Messiah Garvey, and highest honors to our prophet in these days, Noble Jew Ali. All right. So, it's chapter 9. I like this chapter because it has like one of my favorite verses in it. Verse 24. The man who spends his time in pulling other people's weeds can have no time in pulling his own. And all the choicest flowers of life will be choked and die. And nothing will remain but darnel, thistles, and burrs. Islam. I really like that one because I'm a strong believer in minding your business, you know. But I grew up in Chicago, right? Where if you grow up in any megapolis, right? Any freakishly large city, you encounter people, you can't just glance at them even. Because they're going to ask you, what? Does anybody know?
What's the problem?
What you looking at?
What you looking at?
All right, so I learned how to mind my own business real early, right? But it's kind of weird because since I mind my business, people tell me their business. It's the weirdest thing. Which is fine. You know, that's cool.
Keep a secret.
Yeah, I know how to keep a secret, but I don't, it's like, I don't go looking for conversations. I just say, hi. You know what? My wife just spent X, Y, and Z on a lead window that's 100 and something years old. Like, wow. All I said was hi. Yeah, that actually happened. All right. But, yeah. So, I really like this one because like I said, it's a testament, at least that verse, a testament to minding your own business. Not saying sit there and watch injustice occur. No. Just, be so engaged in working on yourself that you don't have no time to be paying attention to what the nenext man doing. Right? And I love how Jesus, he went in on him. That's how I know Jesus was a brother. Right? He went in. Right? Because, I'm looking at it. How many times he kept repeating himself. What does he say? The pure in heart do not accuse. It just kept saying it over and over. And if it's
Islam.
Islam?
12 and 13, you men who look on them with scorn.
Yes, and he said it, you men who... I could just see his face when I was reading it. Like, I could just see the disgust on his face when he was saying it. You men of scorn. And then he repeated it. You men of scorn. Like, he was drawing attention to it, right? And then it was even sweeter because he said, I guess this was years later, let he who is without sin cast the first stone. At this point, I'm presuming he's still under... This is prior to when that happened. So he's probably under 30. So he's considered still a youth. And he's saying, what? I don't even care if you're a Brahmin priest. So this is somebody who's, in addition to being Jesus, right? He also has the benefit of youth on his side. Like, dang, look at you. You don't know better than to not act like that, and don't think I can't see right through you just like a child, right? So, yeah, it was kind of cool how it was like, yeah, I'm going to tell you about yourself. And what could they do but hang their head in shame, which was all, what they should have done. Because they knew what they had done, which is why, Moors ask me why I don't speak on certain things, and it's just because I'm always afraid of getting caught up. That should be like my motto, right? Where somebody will be like, you don't know, you can't speak on that because you aren't in that circumstance or you've never had that experience. So I don't even touch it. That kind of thing, right? So you're a priest looking at this courtesan, right? Which is interesting. He didn't say prostitute. I found that really interesting. I should go into it, but I don't want to take up too much time because there's a difference between a courtesan and a prostitute, right? And I wanted to also close with, what is that? How verse 31, Jesus says, if Allah saves only those who have unbroken blades, who have been perfected in his sight, who will be saved? I love it, right? Where it's saying, we all got flaws. This is how I interpret it, right? We all have flaws, so we all have room to improve. Perfection does exist, but after that, what's the point?
Islam.
Just die, right? So with that, Islam, and I yield. Peace.
Islam. Gratitude.
Islam Moors.
Always.
Thank you.
YouTube.
Yeah. Stay tuned. It'll be there. Peace, Moors. Islam.
Yeah.
Islam Moors. Peace and love. Happy holy day, y'all. Hope y'all day was good. Mine was great.
Great.
So first, I rise giving all perfect praise to the great God Allah. Honors to the forerunner, Marcus Messiah Garvey. And highest honors to the prophet in these days and times, Noble True Ali. All right, so chapter 13. Yay. My favorite number. Because I noticed how it's like holy water to the evil, right? Because 13 is if you look at astrology and time, everything goes from 12 to 12. Once you get to 13, it's a new cycle. Some people don't like new cycles, right? So, chapter 13, right? So I'm like, let me pick it up. I know I've read it before, but let me review and let's see what jumps out. And hopefully I can get past at least the first 7 verses. Nope, didn't happen. So, first, Jesus came to Egypt land, and all was well. He tarried not upon the coast and went at once to Zoan. Okay, so you've been gone since you were 12, 13 years old, and you didn't take the ship. I looked at a map. Like, I realized he would have to go to Egypt to get to Jerusalem, if that's where or Nazareth, if that's where his parents were still. But I'm just like, I don't know. If it was me, no, I'll make a round. I'll come back and see y'all. I haven't been home in what they said he was 20 and 5 years, or 5 and 20 years. So he's been gone for 13 years. Chapter 13, he's been gone for 13 years. Okay, I just saw that, right? And his first stop was his mother's teachers, right? That's tripped out. And I'm like, okay, Zoan. I didn't even get to past chapter verse 1. I got stuck right there. Zoan. What's Zoan? That sticks out. Elihu and Salome. Or Salome. There's Salome again. And there's Elihu again. Didn't I read that Salome was married? Who is Elihu? And why isn't Salome with him? Or why is Salome with him instead of with Zebedee? What's going on? Right? Because I'm like, okay, I'm putting pieces together like we're supposed to be putting all this stuff back together, right? It's the uniting of Asia. So we're putting all of this knowledge back together, right? I'm like, what's going on, right? So your first stop when you get home after 13 years is not to go see your parents. It's to go see your mother's teachers. And one of them is this woman who's with a guy who's not her husband. And I'm not saying that there's anything going on because I understand the balance, right? I'm like, who is this guy Elihu, right? So that's why I got stuck. I'm like, let me see who Elihu is, right? And I looked it up, and it turns out it's the guy from the book of Job. Okay, let's look it up. And he first starts to speak in, what is it? The book of Job, chapter 33, right? That's when he first starts talking, right? And I'm reading through it, and I'm just like, why does all of this sound so familiar? It's all like reminding me of something. It's all reminding me of something, right? And it starts, please listen, Job, to what I have to say, And I looked into it, and it said Elihu was like well studied. He was like, before this verse, he was known for being very respectful of his elders, right? I'm like, well, I know about children who are respectful to their elders. Those are the ones that's too busy listening to talk, so they're taking as respectful. It's like, no, I'm soaking in your knowledge, right? And so it's like, well, he came qualified because everybody knew him because he was the guy who hung out with the elders, right? And he had a great respect for them. And he wasn't known to challenge them. Like, okay, where's all of this leading, right? So he's finally the book of Job, Job is going through it. And here go his friends telling him how it's all his fault, right? And here comes Elihu like, well, elders, now that I've listened to y'all talk, I got something to say about it. Like, why does this sound so familiar, right? And he says to Job, Elihu says to Job, still the first verse. No, it's not. 6th verse. Look, I am the one you were wishing for. Someone to stand between you and God and be both his representative and yours. You need not be frightened of me. I am not some person of renown to make you nervous and afraid. I too am made of common clay. So it's like he came in respectfully checking those elders who were like, well, it must be something you doing to be going through all this. Even though we've been your friends forever and we know what kind of guy you are. We know why you were blessed. We agreed with your being blessed, and now you're going through it. It must be your fault, right? And here comes Job, right? And chapter 23:24. But if a messenger from heaven is there to intercede for him as a friend, to show him what is right, then God pities him and says, set him free. Do not make him die, for I have found a substitute. And then his body will become as healthy as a child's, firm and youthful again. And when he prays to God, God will hear and answer and receive him with joy. And it goes on. And then I'm going to jump down to verse 29. Yes, God often does these things for man, brings back his soul from the pit so that he may live in the light of the living. Mark this well, O Job. Listen to me. Let me say more. He's being respectful, right? Hear me out, But if you have anything to say at this point, go ahead. I want to hear it, for I'm anxious to justify you. But if not, listen to me. Keep silence and I will teach you wisdom. I'm like, why is this sounding so familiar, right? Chapter 9 of the Holy Quran, our Holy Quran. It's just crazy how stuff like goes in cycles, and it's verified, right? Chapter 9, where Jesus attends a feast in Behar, and here he taught humanity equality, right? So he's sitting at that feast, he got invited to sit with the holy man, and he's sitting with the scum of the earth, so to speak, and he's getting berated, and then they start saying, these are these people you sitting with. It's there. I'm getting the impression he's blaming them for their situation. The priests, the holy men are blaming these people for their situations, right? And Jesus, this young man, just like Job or Elihu was, this young man comes in and checks them, right? My favorite part, you men who look at them with scorn. Verse 12, verse 13 again, you men who look at them with scorn, right? And it was just crazy. I'm like, well, wait a minute. He said that God, I'm going to say Allah, is doing something to you because he wants you to learn something. That's the impression I get. And it says you are in verse 12 of our book, or I guess everybody's book, the missing book, right? I guess this is the missing part, the continuation of what Elihu was saying about Job to these elders. How you can't sit here judging people, right? And be considered wise. That kind of thing, because you really don't know what they're going through. And then it comes full circle with this same man teaching this prodigy, I guess, because it says he was sitting in his mother's lap the last time he met this man, and he remembered that lesson somehow, right? But yeah, I really thought it was interesting because it's just like, it's kind of, not only is it filling in missing parts of all these other scriptures, our Quran is, but it's also saying pay attention to patterns, right? I couldn't help but notice that right before Jesus went on his journey at 12 years old, Salome's son was there. So technically she was there. Well, let's back it up that even further. Before he ventured out into life itself, sitting on his mother's lap as a baby, right? There was Salome. And then as soon as he gets back from his sabbatical, I don't know, whatever a 13-year sabbatical is. I think sabbaticals are 7 years. But he gets back and there she is again, right? So my takeaway is look for your patterns, right? So I didn't even get past verse 1. And I'm like, yo, look for your patterns, right? So what appears right before challenges or opportunities? And unfortunately, this can only be determined through time and experience. You got to see it keep happening. I know mine, right? I call it the north wind blowing, where it's like, okay, something's obviously pushing me to leave. I need to start preparing. That had to happen a few times before it clicked like, oh, this is a pattern, right? And then my other one is my sister's cat shows up, right? And I just went and got my sister's cat, and he's mine now for good. I'm not borrowing him. So it's like, I know this is opening up something. So with that, I hope y'all got something from that. I didn't even get past Elihu. I wanted to see what Zoan was, right? So I guess that'll be for next time. And with that, Islam, y'all, thank you for your indulgence, and I yield. Peace, y'all.
Islam. Now that's powerful, sister, right there. Gratitude.
Oh, no problem. I mean, I just got stuck. Like, God dang. I mean, praise Allah. That kind of thing. Islam.